No genre of film sweeps me off my feet and pulls me into its world quite like adventure. There's a timeless quality to seeing outlandish feats of heroism and villainy against exotic and fantastical backdrops, all accompanied by a larger-than-life soundtrack. It's like watching your almost forgotten childhood fantasies of courage and wonder play out on screen. At least, that's how I feel about the genre. Though some movies today may technically fit within the description of adventure, they don't capture that spirit one feels when they see Indiana Jones just barely escape a trap with his life, or when Luke swings across the depths of the Death Star while dodging stormtrooper lasers. Which is a shame, because I can't help but feel like there's something more to it, something that keeps me coming back for more, regardless of how many times I've seen the same story told over and over again. One such story is one that has captivated me ever since I saw it as a kid, more so than any other adventure film. Don't get me wrong, the Indiana Jones trilogy is a masterpiece in and of itself. It's just that 1, you really don't need me to tell you that, and 2, Indy didn't interest me until I was already older. This other story had the same thrills of exploring ancient ruins, gunfights, and treasure maps, but it had one thing Indy didn't. Whoa! A mummy. Released in 1999 and directed by Stephen Sommers, The Mummy is a fresh reimagining of the Universal monster classic that leaves the slow-paced horror behind for guns, swords, and adventure throughout a classic narrative that follows 3 protagonists. Rick O'Connell, a gun-toting certified badass who dual-wields pistols, Eve Carnahan, a beautiful risk-taking librarian, and Jonathan Carnahan, Eve's clever brother who likes shiny things. They all go on an adventure to find Hamunaptra, the lost city of the dead, and unbeknownst to our heroes, the not-so-final resting place of the title character, whom they awaken and have to defeat before he takes his revenge upon humanity. The playful spirit of adventure found within The Mummy is one seldom found in others, even in its own sequels. It's a spirit that feels as though it were a storyteller inviting you to take a seat and join everyone around a warm campfire to listen to his tale of horror, romance, and adventure, while also warning you not to take it too seriously and to enjoy it for what it is. And what it is nothing short of charming. The chemistry between cast members Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz is genuine and heartfelt, as it is with the rest of the cast. The performances of the archetypal characters not only screams adventure, but breathes new life to them with a balanced level of self-awareness, which only adds to the playful and fun nature of the film.
Americans.
This allows the comedy to soar beyond what's on the script.
Is it dangerous?
Well, you probably won't live through it.
Why, Joe? Do you really think so?
Well, everybody else we bumped into has died. Why not you?
However, the comedy isn't just limited to wisecracking jokes and quick-witted banter. Almost every scene is riddled with small but effective visual gags that keep the film light on its feet, which is especially nice when combined with action sequences. From desert battles to sword fights in ancient crypts, the action is executed masterfully with wide shots and long takes that really highlights the daring and exciting energy found almost exclusively within the genre. The action not only holds up to the standard of adventure films, but adds its own spin to it, thus making itself unique from the others. This is done by how the film handles the supernatural elements of the story. Typically, the supernatural is reserved in a film to just be something the characters have no way to fight against, which is done to make the villain seem more powerful. However, my problem with this is that it just gives the characters nothing to do but fumble their way through the movie until one of them is given godlike powers to defeat the villain, which is honestly kinda lame. The Mummy, however, just straight up gives its characters guns, swords, and dynamite to use against the unholy hordes of the damned. And you know what? It's a hell of a lot of fun. It's the cinematic equivalent of those arcade games where you shoot zombies, robots, or dinosaurs, only it's a crew of adventurers fighting their way through a labyrinth of ancient ruins to a triumphant score. I love it. If I had to describe the film with one word, it would be playful. The tone is playful, the characters are playful, the action is playful, even the story is playful. The narrated opening that introduces the villain, Imhotep, and how he became the mummy really hones in on that feeling I described earlier, of being invited to listen to a campfire story and to not take it too seriously. It's a feeling that's carried out through each scene of the film, from character introductions to when they all find the city of the dead. I especially love the sight of an explorer with a torch in one hand and a gun in the other. There's something timeless about it. Once characters start discovering spooky things like the mummy and a cursed chest, the film's playfulness only increases.
Death will come on swift wings to whomsoever opens this chest.
And once the mummy is brought back from the dead, it's in full effect.
No! You must not read from the book!
It's like Scooby-Doo meets Indiana Jones, and it couldn't be any more fun even if you tried.
What have we done?
Now, that's not to say that it's entirely childish. There's some disturbing moments, and though the effects are dated by today's standards, the mummy itself certainly isn't a guy wrapped in bandages. The CGI in the mummy is at its best impressive, and at its worst, simply dated. Regardless, it still doesn't get in the way of enjoying the film. The villain is menacing, theatrical, and feels right at home in the playful tone of the film as he unleashes chaos upon the heroes. And just when you thought he couldn't be any more of a classic villain, he kidnaps the girl, leaving the heroes with no choice but to stop him before he sacrifices her in a ritual to bring back his true love. They travel back to the City of the Dead where they fight their way through mummies, defeat Imhotep, and ride off into the sunset with treasure. The story is literally a textbook example of a classic adventure. So why is it that even though it's a highly predictable and even tired narrative, it's still a delight to watch? It's self-awareness.
Rescue the damsel in distress, kill the bad guy, and save the world.
The movie decides to laugh alongside you at how theatrical it all is, and in the process create something new entirely.
I love the whole sand wall trick. It was beautiful. Bastard.
It's not trying to be groundbreaking or wow you with incredibly high stakes. It just wants to amuse you and give you a fun time with its simplicity. This is only highlighted by where the sequels went wrong.
Your ass is on fire! My ass!
Very, very wrong.
Spank my ass! Spank my ass!
With The Mummy mastered in simplicity and self-awareness, its sequels and reboot lost in higher stakes and god-awful trends, ultimately leading to the downfall of the series. Maybe instead of the O'Connells only fighting mummies and having a plot device kid, they could have gone on to encounter the other Universal monsters and make the cinematic universe Universal Studios so desperately wanted. I can't help but imagine how cool it would have been to see Rick shoot vampires with dual-wield pistols, maybe even alongside Van Helsing? Regardless of what could have been, The Mummy perfectly captures the sense of adventure found within the best of the genre, especially the swashbuckling classics, some of the earliest films ever made. The classic adventure films that often starred Errol Flynn created and mastered the genre right down to a formula that works. The Mummy takes that same formula and adds the spectacle and energy of the modern era, thus giving it new life. It's also what Indiana Jones and Star Wars did. They didn't reinvent the wheel, they merely updated it by changing the spokes or giving it a fresh coat of paint. The worst attempts of adventure either take the wheel and add too much onto it to the point where it doesn't even turn, or they throw out the wheel entirely.
Where's your sense of adventure?
There's a reason the best adventure movies are filled with archetypal characters. It's because they work. You can't help but see yourself in them and relate to their desire for something more, whether it be treasure, romance, or greatness, and from that desire comes the adventure. From its exciting action set pieces where the hero runs, jumps, and swings, to its endearing characters and their encounters with curses, flesh-eating beetles, and the undead, The Mummy never fails to put a big dumb smile on my face every time I rewatch it. It has the same spirit of the classics, plus the stimulation of guns and a mummy, and not only that, it's executed damn near perfectly. Though it may be the last of a dying breed, I hope filmmakers can learn a thing or two from this masterpiece of adventure, and in turn, make a few of their own.
It looks to me like I've got all the horses! Hey, Benny! Looks to me like you're on the wrong side of the river!
Thanks for watching.
Corazón.